when we want to heal our bodies, it's important to look at what has been stressing the body, because stress creates disease, stress creates dysfunction. Different kinds of stress. We have environmental stress, chemical toxins, right, can create disease and dysfunction in the body. We have physical trauma to the body, maybe like an injury or an accident, brain injury, right? That can cause dysfunction. And then we also have emotional stress. And this is the one that doesn't really get looked at. And when you go into a doctor's office and Western medicine, the way that the whole system is set up, they're really looking at what is going on physically with the body. They're not really addressing that there are very real emotional stressors that contribute to the body being in a state of disease. And we know this, research shows what happens physically inside the body when there's emotional stress. So when we get stressed, there's hormones running through our body, stress hormones, cortisol, adrenaline, right, when we're in fight or flight. So what if you have a very stressful job or a very stressful life, and you feel like you're in a state of anxiety, like you're putting out fires constantly? A lot of moms feel this way, right? Motherhood is not exactly the easiest job on this planet. It's probably the hardest, right? Because not only does it take an enormous amount of energy and focus to raise kids, to constantly take care of their needs and to figure out how to deal with all the conflict that arises, but naturally kids push our buttons and they trigger us emotionally as parents more than anyone else. And so the actual work of being a mother is very, very difficult and exhausting and challenging. Like any nanny will tell you, the work of raising kids, or not just raising kids, but even just taking care of kids, is hard. Add to that everything that goes on inside you as a mother to a child, and everything that's on your shoulders, and all the stress, and everything is on you. So you could hire someone to watch your kids, but everything is still on you, right? That does take off a lot of the weight. But if you're watching your kids and you're, in your kids' space for a good part of the day, maybe you're a stay-at-home mom or a work-at-home mom, you're bound to get overwhelmed, right? And so a lot of the clients that I work with are mothers, and in their 30s to 50s, 30s and 40s, and I also see some single women in their 20s, mid 20s, before they start families, or maybe they will, maybe they won't, but they're not even in that phase of life. They're going through very different kinds of challenges. But if you're in the phase where you're exhausted, you're overwhelmed, and you have a lot of emotional stress, then it's going to take a toll on you. If you have children, here's the other thing. Our kids, we have these strings attached to them, these like energetic cords, right? We are so connected to them that if something is not right with them, if they're going through any kind of physical illness, chronic condition, or anything, right? But especially those physical conditions, our stress level is just like way up here, because we feel their pain. We don't want them to feel bad, right? It goes way deeper than that. It's just like this deep feeling. We can feel it, especially those mothers who are highly sensitive and empathic and are really in tune with their children. And so, of course, you're going to be feeling an enormous amount of stress, and that's going to take a toll on your body, right? So it's important to, when you're, going through the healing process, to look at what are the emotional stressors in your life. How's your relationship, right? How are things in your family? That's like the first place to look, right? How are things in your career, your work? Do you feel like you're living in alignment with who you are? Do you feel like you're not living the life that you wanted to live, or you feel like something's missing? You're not really in alignment with yourself. You feel like there's something missing, right? So in sessions that I do with my clients, we really look at these things, and we sometimes people talk about certain things, bring up certain things for the first time, and they've never even spoken a lot of things out loud before, but it comes up in this space that we create, this healing space. And so I just wanted to emphasize the importance of looking at emotional stress when you have a chronic issue, okay? And then secondly, a lot of times we stay in situations that are not good for us because we have certain beliefs around them that keep us stuck in them. So if you are in a relationship or a job or whatever it is that you really are having a hard time with, and you just don't feel like is helping you, is not the right thing for you in your life, you want to separate yourself from. I've had people who, know that they need to leave a job, for example, because their employer is very toxic, or it's a very difficult work environment, that kind of thing. Or a relationship is huge, a marriage, right? We have these beliefs, and so one of the things that we can do is just look at what is keeping us stuck. If you know you need to leave something, if you know something's not good for you, what are the thoughts that come up whenever you think about leaving that? There's always going to be reasons, right? Oh, I can't do that because this, right? There's a whole list. I had this whole list going in my head before I got divorced as well. And it ended up being a very important step for me that I knew was the right step. And I actually had to hear someone tell me, to ask me really, what does your heart know? In order for me to actually move forward with what my heart knew. No one had ever asked me that before. Let me have a little heart right here. No one had ever asked me, what does your heart know? And in my mind, when you're coming up with excuses of, reasons to stay in whatever is not good for you, you're always going to have this list of reasons in your head you're going to go to automatically, and it's going to keep you stuck there. But if someone were to ask you, what does your heart know? And to follow that, it takes courage, right? Because our minds are programmed to keep us stuck in a box, living in the box that we're in. Our brains are actually programmed. That's how the brain works. And so anytime you get close to the edge of the box that you're living in, you're going to have a really loud inner critic voice that says, you can't break out of this, you have to stay where you are, here's all the reasons why, it's dangerous out here. Most people just listen because they're just in their heads. They're not really aware of that voice that exists once they get to the edge of their comfort zone, once they get to the edge of their box. So if you're in a situation that's causing you to feel like you can't get out of it, and you may not even really be considering that because you're, like I just explained, you're kind of just, you have all your reasons to stay, and you just listen to those reasons more than what your heart knows. I want you really to think about what your heart does know, right? What is good for you? What's causing you stress, right? And how can you rearrange things in your life to reduce the stress? Now, that doesn't mean just if a relationship's hard to leave, right? So we got to talk about this. If you're having those kinds of questions, let me know, and we could even do a session to look at what's really going on, because a lot of times it's not the right thing to leave. The right thing is to work through the issues that are coming up. Relationships are huge growth opportunities, right? For spiritual, emotional, mental growth. But there are times when it is the right thing to move on for both people in the relationship. And so it's just important to look at that and to be aware of these things that could be contributing to a physical issue going on in your body. So this is so important to look at, and hope this is helpful. Hope this helps some people out there to really think about what could be contributing, maybe even for the first time, and start to consider that there could be some things in your life, and really question what's going on. And I am always available for sessions. If you're in need of some one-on-one support, you can just drop me a message in my mailbox and I'll get back to you. We can set something up. So have a good day, everyone. Talk to you later.